Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I'm Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And we are two lonely nerds trying to find our way in the universe.
Because if we don't do it, who will?
Yeah. Okay, so we were talking a little bit earlier about some stuff coming out in November that we're really excited about. Turns out everything cool is coming out in November, including Disney Plus's series The Mandalorian, starring Pedro Pascal and Gina Carano and some other really big name actors. I figured we would take the time today to lay out a couple of questions we kind of expect to be answered.
Because we don't know a whole ton about this show, right?
We know, I think, less about it than we know about Rise of Skywalker.
Which is impressive, because we don't know very much about Rise of Skywalker either.
Yeah. They're keeping everything very secretive over there at Lucasfilm.
And Disney.
Yeah, so we're going to have a number of questions. We were supposed to do 10, but we're not going to do 10.
The top 6 questions we have about The Mandalorian.
Yeah, and you know what? It'll be as many as we give you, and you'll be happy with it.
Ha!
And if you're happy with it, of course, make sure you like the video and subscribe and comment, because every little bit of love helps. Okay, the first question. So this first question kind of gets a little bit of a proviso before it. This show was originally a Bubba Fett story treatment. Mm-hmm. And they were like, don't talk about the coolest fucking bounty hunter in the world. No one wants to know about that.
No one wants to know about Mr. Jetpack.
Yeah, so let's do not Boba Fett.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's your question?
I want to know what happened to Bubba Fett.
Well, he got digested in the Sarlacc for 5,000 years or whatever.
I don't think so. I don't think he did. At the very least, his armor made it out. You'd find that out in the Aftermath series.
Maybe the Sarlacc spit that out after like 2 years.
I feel like if you digest something for 5,000 years, you can probably digest Mandalorian armor. I don't know. Mandalorian armor might be real fucking tough.
Mandalorian armor is some real shit.
Yeah. Anyway, I would like to know a little bit about Bubba Fett.
An interesting wrinkle in the whole Boba Fett fate question is that we actually saw his ship back in the Rey comic.
Yep.
We did a while back.
Yeah.
Recommended video, top right corner.
Yeah.
Rey comic.
Oh, that's a really good way to cross-promote that. That is precluding, of course, that it's Slave One.
Yeah.
I assume that they're kind of like Cadillacs and there isn't just like one of them. Like there might be more than one of those ships.
It's kind of a distinctive looking ship, and I don't think it would have appeared in that comic by accident.
That's true. Go ahead with your question.
My first question, is this a, like... So our title character, the Mandalorian, is this an actual, original, true-bred, flesh-and-blood Mandalorian, or is this a Jango clone? Because there were a lot of clones of Jango Fett, and they're all quote-unquote Mandalorian, but...
Well, Jango wasn't Mandalorian.
Was he not?
No, he was a poser.
Huh.
Yeah. And I think I could be wrong about this. I'll do some research and throw it up on the screen here in the future. But I'm almost positive they have confirmed that he is actually Mandalorian. So who knows? If not, or if that question isn't immediately answered, it would be nice to know. Because that connects him to an entire different story in Star Wars that all of a sudden becomes very relevant. So given the timeline where we are, which is like kind of after Return of the Jedi and before The Force Awakens, I would like to know like what the current state of the galaxy is. Like the Empire, of course, suffered a crippling loss at Endor, and we kind of know what ends up happening to them eventually.
In the long run,
yeah.
Sure.
They make their last stand at Jakku, and then they kind of like limp away. No one knows where the fuck they're going, and they're just like, just let them go.
But there's a bunch of footage in that trailer that suggests at least some parts of the Empire.
Yeah, well, at least two distinctive camps, because you have Giancarlo Esposito's group, and he's some Moff, I can't remember his name right now, who are very shiny and like kept that military discipline. And then you have Werner Herzog's stormtroopers who have seen better days, and like their armor's like dirty and shit, and they're just like sitting around drinking and stuff. So it's one of those things that made it over from Legends, I think, where there are different parts of the Imperial remnant that are kind of scurrying for control over local systems.
Imagine it like the fall of the Roman Empire, like the central Roman Empire fell apart, but there's still all these outposts and individual cities and stuff that are quote-unquote Roman. So they're all kind of fending for themselves and instituting whatever rules they can.
Yeah, it's probably I bet an Imperial versus Imperial war.
Probably.
Like in the first season.
Nice power struggle.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 4. Related to yours, what does the fall of the Empire mean for the average person in the galaxy? So, like, we know from, like, the first establishing shots of the Mandalorian trailer where there's, like, stormtrooper helmets on pikes. There were a lot of people who didn't like the Empire there very much. But, like, for all the evils it did, the Empire was also a pretty stable society.
Yeah, and some people crave those kinds of things.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, stability is good for business.
True.
Because if you're trying to run your corporation or whatever, you want to know who the government is going to be, what their policies are going to look like, and you want to know all of that is going to be relatively the same for decades, so that you can keep making money. And when business is good, when money is steady and easy to come by, people are generally pretty happy. Mm-hmm. Like that's not just in fiction, that's anywhere. So what does the loss of that stability, that like galaxy-wide stability, what does that mean for the average people, the people that our Mandalorian might encounter tramping around from bar to bar looking for his bounty? Or, cantina to cantina.
Yeah. I think that depends on a couple of things. The first being their literal proximity to the core worlds. Mm-hmm. I think that probably the further and further you get away from the physical location of where the New Republic sets up their capital, it's a little harder to police out of there. You know, of course, at the end of Return of the Jedi that everyone seemed pretty thrilled about the Empire falling. Like, everyone was, like, watching the live stream when it happened, and they were, like, super excited.
There was that sequence they had in the special edition where, like, you're on Coruscant, they're pulling down the statue of the Emperor.
Or the Jar Jar, we set free! That was, like, George Lucas being like, fuck you, you're going to get some Jar Jar Binks. So it really depends on, I think what we're going to find out is, at least where the story takes place, the people there are going to be kind of how Americans are right now, where we're like, both political parties suck, everything sucks, or like the government sucks, and we're all starving to death, and all of us are sick and dying, and we don't have healthcare. I think that's generally what their kind of thing is going to be, where they have to take care of themselves. They're probably far away from the influence of the New Republic, and also maybe some of these Imperial factions trying to take control, people might be kind of looking for someone to take some authority, so that they kind of like set up that stability that you're talking about.
All right, number 5.
Okay, so one of the things that, one of the splintering story arcs in Clone Wars, it happens on Mandalore with like real Mandalorians, and if it is true that the Mandalorian is actually a Mandalorian, he will have some really good information about what ends up happening there. Because they have their own complex political structure. They all have, just like the whole Mandalorian thing, or the whole Mandalore thing is really pretty interesting. I know that you don't watch Clone Wars or Rebels a whole bunch, because the one of the characters in Rebels is a Mandalorian as well. And she wields the Darksaber and stuff. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to know exactly where, kind of fill in the blanks with what happened and stuff, and maybe like what he thinks of it or how it's kind of like affected him. Yeah,
because Mandalorians have always been this very visually striking people. I mean, as far back as Bubba Fett's existed. And it's interesting to look at and try and figure out what the substance is behind that flash.
Yeah.
So my last question, this is more related to the format of the show, I guess, but how episodic is this show going to be? Are we going to have like a different planet every week like Star Trek does?
Like
or
a procedural thing?
Yeah, or are we going to have like multi-episode arcs where we stay in one location and hunt a bounty for, 3 hours and then before we go on to the next one?
Yeah, procedural TV is dead. And it's been dead for a while, I think. And I think Game of Thrones and similar properties were like the last nail in the coffin. Especially on a streaming service like Disney Plus, I would expect that they set up some really intricate storylines that run from the first episode to the very last episode of the entire show.
I suspect that as well. Part of me would be charmed if they did go the episodic route, the Planet of the Week route, just because
you get to see a lot. You get to see a lot of Star Wars.
Yeah, that would also be a problem on the production end because you need like 3 times as many locations to film on, for instance.
Yeah, and then they got to think of like 7 other sand planets.
Yeah.
and what to call them. Because they can't call them Tatooine or Dantooine. It's like Fantooine,
I mean, I guess we could have an episode on Jakku
Cacantooine.
trying to track down Rey's parents or something.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
stole a kid for drinking money. That's illegal.
Yeah, I don't think we're going that far into the rabbit hole. I do have as we're about to wrap this up, I do have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to see a lightsaber at some point during the show. And I would not be entirely surprised, though this character will not be the central focus of anything, but we might see a younger Luke Skywalker and what he's up to. And this, so you know that Luke was kind of like hunting around for stuff he can learn from after Return of the Jedi. Lawrence Anteka, that old guy that like gets right up in Kylo's face at the beginning of Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Was helping Luke find Force relics because he's kind of like an Indiana Jones type, and it would be kind of a cool thing for him to be like, I need to find this thing.
What if you got both your wishes at the same time, and like we get this shot of someone just like the Mandalorian breaks into a place where they're hunting a bounty. You see this figure clad in black, and then
Keep going.
Ignite the lightsaber. It's green.
Oh god.
That's just everything you ever wanted, isn't it?
That was
And he just kind of casually peers over his shoulder.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. I think that the chances are fairly low because I think that they're trying to set up their own thing that maybe isn't. They've been very resistant about not having anything about Jedi in the Force lately, which irritates me because that's like why I watch Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not expecting it. However, man, that would be the best nut in the world to blow. Anyway, let us know if we missed any questions. Ask them in the comments below, and if we got some time, maybe we'll try to answer them. Go ahead and like the video, comment, follow us on social media, Facebook and Twitter, and we have a podcast where all podcasts are sold, so iTunes and Google Play. So,
Our podcast is free, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was joking. You don't actually have to buy them. Yeah. They're free. So let us know what you think, and always remember.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. Now get out of here.